One. All right, everybody. Guess what? I'm back, and I'm back with Spencer. Spencer, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing amazing. Yourself?
Doing good, man. You must be doing amazing because you're in Hawaii, apparently. I like that.
Yeah. Just give me a moment. I'm gonna go for a swim.
Well, you have the Hawaii appropriate shirt, by the way. I
That's
love it.
right. You gotta keep a level of happiness going on.
Man, you know what? And I was about to ask you, I was going to just jump off by saying, I know that you're one of these eternally happy people, much like I am. So, what are you telling people that are calling you? Because I know a lot of people are calling you for advice right now. Should I wait? Should I go? Should I hide? Should I drink myself to death? What are you telling people right now as far as buying or selling?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it really depends on their time frame. That's very important. So, for example, if you own a home and you're thinking of retirement, I mean, sure, there's a lot of bad news out there, and if you're trying to sell at a high price, now is the time to do so, right? Because we don't know. What we don't know is what will happen in the medium term. We don't know if prices will
That's
drop
true.
in 6 months. We don't know if it'll be like that for 2 years. We know the short term right now, since I make bids every week. I know the long term, but if you need the money because you're retiring and you need to use that money for something else, it's a good time for that, right?
I'm glad that you mentioned that because most people have when they say they just it's so black and white like well no just sell but real estate is a financial instrument and by its
Exactly.
very nature just like anything else everybody's got a different shoe size, everybody's got a
Yeah.
different goal in mind, and so thank you very much for pointing that out. It depends
Yes.
what is your end game, what is your goal, because if you need to sell then that's going to be a totally different game plan than if you're just looking for a market high because you want to extract the most amount of money, not because you need the money, but just because you want to extract as much ROI on that house. What are you telling buyers right now?
Yeah. So the fundamental thing is, what is your motivation to buy to begin with? I think people use this as a possible distraction.
Hmm,
Now, make no mistake, there is a lot of damage being done. So, if you've lost your job, well, of course you can't buy. You're not going to be able to get a loan. But if you're in a white collar job, an engineering job, data scientist here in the Bay Area, the chances are your job is in pretty it's pretty safe relative to others.
yeah,
And if that's the case, then that should be something not on the risk side. And you should think about, well, why are you buying to begin with? Are you a renter? Because rent, you're still going to be paying rent. Um, and we don't know when things may drop, if they do drop. Um, and that's important to understand. Like I did a report recently looking back, even if you bought in 2006 and you bought till now. So even if you bought just 1 or 2 years before the worst real estate recession in history, in the Bay Area, you were still earning 5 to 6% year over year since then if you held on to it,
right.
right? And that's including a huge dip during that real estate caused recession. And so people kind of, it's always interesting because people keep asking or trying to time a market. The reality is we don't know the medium term. It's impossible to know because all this news right now is it's very bad. But what if there are positive things that COVID may not, the mortality rate is not as bad as people may think? That
Right.
completely changes the game plan. So there's a lot of these
It's true.
outside factors that you can't calculate right now. And so it goes back to, well, what is your time horizon? Do you plan to live in the Bay Area for several years?
That's right.
Right? Rent. It's still very expensive here, so you're sinking money, and that's a guaranteed loss. That's the thing as well.
That's true, and plus, don't forget that even though, yeah, we're going through COVID, and you might have a landlord who might allow you to not pay rent, the reality is that you don't control rent hikes, and at some
Correct.
point, that's gonna happen. So you don't have that ability to control your cost, if you will, of living. Now, we talked a little bit from the beginning about hustle and being positive. I mean, what are you telling people that are calling saying, man, I just I just think this is going to blow up, and there's going to be a 20% price drop in the Bay Area.
Yeah. I think it's important to understand and empathize with where they're coming from,
Sure.
because there are absolutely some stats that you will not see maybe ever again. For example, like the spike in unemployment. That
Sure.
number you may not see again because we're literally on shutdown. So you can understand where they're coming from, but it's my job as a top realtor here to also share actual data and even look back in history. As I mentioned, the exercise that I've done previously is, let's look at something that was caused because of a real estate bust and what were the impacts there, and think about what is different this time around. Now, this time around, what's interesting is real estate is not the cause of this,
No.
and it actually may become a safe haven, which wasn't the case in the last time around,
Yeah, no, wait. Yeah.
right? So there may be even more resilience because people may be scared of the stock market, of how quickly that dropped and how schizophrenic that is.
Hmm.
Foreign opportunities may not be that interesting. And so there are other catalysts this time around for people to just have an overall grasp, but also it goes back to that aspect of time frame. We're not in the business of flipping a home. Like if you're trying to buy a home now and sell it in a year, then I don't know, like that would be risky because I don't know what will happen in 1 year. But if it's over several years, things tend to play out very well,
That's
for
true.
most
And,
owners.
and you can't refute history and the numbers. It's the old saying is you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And the
Right.
facts are that, yeah, to your point, if you're going to hold on for medium to long term, it's almost a no lose proposition. I personally think that there's enormous opportunities right now to buy if you're a buyer out there. Part of it is you have to have some grit, right? And you
Yeah.
have to have positivity because the reality is no matter what your perception is, you're right. If you think this is bad in your world, this is bad. But if you
Right.
think it's good and there's opportunities, you're right. There are opportunities. And part of it is making sure that you create a team of people who share your core values and who share your grit and your hustle to make it happen. So, what do you tell people who ask you about that what are you doing to find opportunities for your buyers?
Yes, there's a lot of things to do. So from a data perspective, and why it's a good time is, there's a popular saying from Warren Buffett, which is being greedy when others are fearful. And there's no time in recent memory that people are scared. And as for some people, it should be, right? Because this is a health pandemic than anything else. However, there's a lot of active things to do, and whether it's discovering properties, but the biggest thing is just pure education. Like I get this all the time where people are asking, "Oh wow, are properties being sold at all cash, or they sold way above market, or loans are no longer available? It's all tightened, right?" And a lot of it is just purely they psych themselves out before they even started. And so a lot of it is just the education of the mindset initially, and also the steps, and I help every step of the way. And the process is different now. So 2 months ago, people can go see open houses whenever they want. Right now, we basically have to see it by appointment only, and that's only for vacant properties. So the whole framework and the whole journey is different. Um, but it is what it is. We have to do what we can to
I
adjust.
agree. I agree. And you know what? Get out of your head and get educated and
Right.
get going. So those would be the gets that I would recommend. So Spencer, let's talk a little bit about your company because you work for EXP and that's a very high technology uh, centric company. What kind of tools do you have at your disposal that you can then share with your either buyers or sellers that give you a bit of a competitive advantage, if you will?
Yeah, so I think there's several to be able to share, and it's a combination of EXP, and it's a combination of just tools that I've basically bolted on that I felt could be applicable, to clients. I mean, from a communications perspective, EXP has been phenomenal. Um, I didn't use all of their online training as much as I did recently for several reasons. One, uh, I was busier, going out and about. That's number one. But number two, the last several weeks have had more changes of real estate, like law and procedure, than it has for months and years. So that amount of being up to date and following the protocols and different relevant news, that was happening almost initially on a day by day basis. So being able to be with EXP allowed me to continue to stay on top of things, because I didn't have to wait for some email campaign that came out, and then you may have questions that way too. So it was really helpful for these live events, all virtually, um, given the especially in the beginning, uh, there's too many unknowns. So there's so many things being scrambled.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
that's one component, and of course, uh, being able to use tools like what we're having right now, Zoom. I mean, now we're almost power users of Zoom, that we
That's
didn't
true.
have to use very much before, and it creates this level of still feeling like we're actually together, even though we're not.
Even though
So
you're in Hawaii and I'm not.
even though I'm next to the beach right now.
Yeah.
Um,
What areas do
so
you cover, by the way, Spencer?
good question. So I cover actually the entire Bay Area,
Okay.
and the reason for that is because uh, I feel like, from my personal belief, everybody deserves to receive top-notch, great service. Whether it's a fifth-time home buyer buying in Palo Alto for an average of 2.5 million, or for those starting out, like they just graduated for a few years, the aspect of homeownership is empowering, and it all starts somewhere. Like, you're not expected to buy a $2 million house as your first house for most people, but it doesn't mean you should wait till then. You can use a condo or a
Great
townhouse
point.
as a stepping stone, and that's how a majority of people actually afford these bigger houses, because they use that equity gain, they trade it up, or they keep that house and now they own multiple properties. And so, because of that, because of the way that the Bay Area is laid out, based off of budget and the type of house you want, you're automatically going to be positioned in different geographies, right? So
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love the fact that you used the stepping stone analogy because it's true. Look, you're not always going to hit home runs when you get up to bat, but as long as you can get on base,
that's right.
that's the point. That's the focus. If you hit a home run, that's awesome, right? And of
Right.
course, we're all, as advisors to you, attempting to help you hit those home runs. But if not, our job is to get you at least on base so that that way you can 2 or 3 step into the property that you maybe is your final right property that you really really just it's the one, right? But if not, let's get you there, even if it's a few steps. You know, the old adage is or the old saying is, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. Doesn't mean don't eat the elephant. Sometimes you just gotta eat it one bite at a time. So Spencer, how do people get a hold of you for further conversation?
Yeah, so I'm in all social media platforms. So you're able to easily find me. Simply Spencer. My last name is HSU. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I have a YouTube channel that I post a lot of content on. Just started a podcast. So simply by typing my name, you'll be able to find me, and
Perfect.
I can also give it to you via email as well.
All right, sounds good. Well, you heard it here first. Thank you again, Spencer. Looking forward to doing some more videos with you. Have a great day and stay healthy, buddy.
Yeah, thank you so much. We'll catch up
Thanks,
soon.
everybody. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and to the right of that, hit that bell so that every time I get a video out, you get alerted. Have a great day. Take care.
Awesome.